And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Revanator from SPC Sunrise Park, and Revanator is completely free to play for a period of time up until CLS. Okay, and so he was completely and utterly free to play. Then CLS came in, and he went, "Never mind, I'm going to whale it out." So since the time of CLS 4 to 5 months ago, he started to whale out. So you will see that he has some characters highly developed while the rest of his roster is pretty low because of the fact that he was free to play for such a long period of time. He's been playing since the very beginning of the game, so he's been in for a very long time. So most of his development came by way of free to play. But again, he started whaling out about 4 months ago. He wants to know a little bit about his Zetas. Where should he be putting them on? He has a couple of them, or at least he did when he asked me to do this review like a week ago. He also wants to know some goals after Ray, because Ray's come into the game. What should he be kind of focused on, or how should he be focusing? And then Ships regular arena and Ships arena is really his primary focus for this video. So that's pretty easy. So we're going to go over main arena first, and I'm looking at the team and I'm going to say yes, yes, yes. This is the meta team for the last 4 to 5 months, and it's going to continue to be part of the meta for the next 3 to 5 months. So it's one of those things that what you've got is good. So you just need to tweak this a little bit. One of the things I noticed was the Zeta, it binds all things on CLS. You definitely want to, if you've got 2 Zetas, put one of your 2 Zetas on CLS binds Zeta, because that is a phenomenal Zeta for you. As far as Han Solo, overall your modding looked fine. You have a crit chance, crit damage sets, so that's good. Over here you've got a health arrow, and you need to put a speed arrow in here, and you may say, I don't have it. You're going to need to farm for it and do it for as long as it takes to get this one. Plus check the stores 4 times a day, buy out of credits, make sure you have a backup of credits, and continue to just farm every single day. If you're going for characters that are in the cantina and you're doing this, well, you're whaling it out now. So what you need to do is buy enough credit crystals that you're going to be able to do more than one cantina refresh, that you can do multiple cantina refreshes, so that way you can divide those up and do some characters and some mods. If you're not going for anyone in cantina at this second, you could pause whatever and you could go straight mods, but you need to get a speed arrow on him. You have critical damage on the triangle, which is excellent, and you've got protection here, which is great for durability. However, you could put an offense, so almost 6% additional offense, which is huge, it really is, on here instead of protection, but he's going to become a little bit less tanky. So it's up to you. Do you want him to do a little bit more damage while he's around, or do you want him to last just a tiny bit longer but do less damage? So either way would be fine, and of course, protection on the circle, you have that right. As far as CLS, you really want to get his speeds up a little bit, but I know you're using what you had that gives you the speed that you were looking for. As far as this, you have a speed arrow, so that is good. As far as the triangle, you currently have defense, and it has a 4-speed secondary, which is okay. Not really so good, but it's okay. I would highly recommend this be switched out for a critical damage triangle, so you can get more percentage of that critical damage when he crits. And then you have tenacity on him, which makes sense for him. You could have either protection or tenacity. Tenacity does make it just harder for them to apply those debuffs to him. And of course, protection circle looks good. R2-D2 looked good, and Thrawn looked good. As far as your brand new General Kenobi, by the way, you just unlocked General Kenobi recently, like within the last couple of weeks, so pretty awesome. I bet you're super excited about that. You went with defense mods, which is awesome. He's a tank. That raises his armor rate, which is how much damage he reduces. So if his armor's, 40%, let's look at it. Your armor is 32% currently. It means that if somebody hits you for 10,000, 32% of that 10,000 is reduced. So basically they're hitting you for, basically 6,800 damage instead of the full 10,000 damage. So it compresses the amount of damage that they're doing to you. So this is good. You can get his armor rate over 40% once you get him to 7 stars and gear 12. And there are some additional pieces on gear 12 that can get him almost to 45 to 50% armor, which is pretty insane. I know you just unlocked him, and it's amazing that you got him to gear 11, but you're going to want to definitely get him faster. When I was looking at his stats, I noticed he's 148. Your goal is at least 200. I know he's a tank, and I know you're going to want to make him tanky with a lot of protection, but you definitely want to put a speed arrow on here instead of a protection arrow. You want speed arrow, and then you're going to want this as protection, not health. You'll want this as protection like you have it, and you'll want this as protection like you have it, and then you'll want the highest speed secondaries possible. Again, I know the biggest thing, Revanator, is secondary speeds. It's super hard, and so I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but you've got to continue to farm out of the store for credits only, and also everyday farm mods. Speed sets do really, really well. Just look for speed sets, farm them as much as you can, and then when you get some that have speed secondaries, those are the ones you're going to want to roll up to see how high the speed secondaries will go. And surprisingly, after a few weeks, you'll notice you'll have 3 or 4 good mods, and you'll go, wow, this modding, farming for mods does work. It's just you have to do 1,000 of them before you get 4 or 5 that are worthwhile. So that's how it feels anyway, for sure. But other than that, the arena team looks really, really great. I would do the one Zeta on binds. The other Zeta, you asked about General Veers, because you said you're working on your Imperial troopers for dark side territory battles and things like that. And this is also a great fill-in team when you're climbing and you run into one of those Night Sister teams you have a hard time with. You can simply pop these guys in and it'll walk right through a Night Sisters team. So definitely Zeta Veers, it's an excellent idea, and it's going to make this a very viable team for the dark side territory battles. Again, for ships, you're in the top 50. You're doing very well in both regular arena and fleet arena, and for being completely and utterly free to play from the beginning and then only starting to whale out 4 months ago, you've done really, really well. Now, what I'm looking at does confuse me a bit, because you've got rebel ships mixed in with some target lock ships with some other non-target lock ships, and the problem is you have Biggs, but Biggs is worthless here because there's only one ship that actually applies target lock, and that is the TIE Advanced. And so unfortunately he's not going to gain a lot of protection back, and he's not going to taunt a whole lot because there's not a lot of ships causing that to happen. See, the deal with the target lock team is you need like 4 other target lock ships that cause target lock, because then Biggs taunts and Biggs gets protection back, which makes it impossible for them to kill him. He's just constantly regen. And so that's the idea between target lock. So you've got to put ships in that do target lock. So the Chimera is, in fact, the best ship that you have for capital ships, so you're going to continue to run the Chimera. You'll have 3 backup slots. You're going to continue to use the TIE Advance and the TIE Reaper, because the TIE Reaper is the best ship in the game. It's going to reduce turn meter on the capital ship, the opposing capital ship, every time a ship dies. Any ship dies. So you absolutely need that. And Biggs you're going to continue to use. But you're going to pull out the Scimitar, and I believe that's the Ghost. Yep, the Ghost. You're going to want to pull both the Ghost and the Scimitar out of your initial lineup, and you're going to want to replace them with the First Order TIE Pilot and the Imperial TIE Fighter. Now I come down to your 2, and your Imperial TIE Fighter and the First Order TIE Fighter are both at 6 stars, Gear 9 characters, and that is a start. I'm sure that they could be plugged in right now where they're at, and you will do just fine. However, if you plug them in and you find yourself dropping out of the top like 50 pretty easily, then you might need to put more time into these guys. And at long term, you're going to need to get these guys up higher than Gear 9. Now, you've got the TIE Reaper and those 2 guys at Gear 9 as well. And so my goal would be for you, for those 4 characters you're looking at, Death Trooper, Shore Trooper, the TIE Fighter, the First Order TIE Fighter, the First Order TIE Pilot. These guys, you definitely want to get all 4 of them up to like Gear 10, eventually Gear 11. They're your pilots. So think of them just like Arena. They are the guys who are going to be used in Arena. In Arena, you have no quarrels putting guys to Gear 12 because it makes you crystals. Well, these guys are going to make you crystals potentially as well. And so these guys are just as important as CLS and R2-D2. Even though people don't look at them the same, they should be looking at them the same. Every single one in my top 5 of my main lineup are all Gear 12 with their Zetas, and the reason for that is because I'm trying, even if I'm not using them anywhere else, this is my arena for crystals, and it's 400 crystals a day and 500 in the other arena, so this is nearly as important. If anything, it's actually more important, because in regular arena, I can get crystals outside of the top 50 or the top 20. In Ships Arena, you can't get crystals outside the top 20. They've only incentivized the top 20, which means if you're going to get any reward back in the long term, you've got to get into the top 20, and the only way to do that is to develop these characters to max. Also in your backup, you could use in your backup Slave 1. He's an excellent character. He comes in, he continues with the target lock drum as he's just continuing to do that. He has 2 different AoEs, so he's excellent. And of course, you've got a Gear 9 Boba Fett. I would continue to take him up as well. I also notice your most powerful ship is the Millennium Falcon, and you've got a Gear 9 and Gear 10 character, so this would be an excellent ship to have in your backup. I wouldn't put it in your main 5 lineup because it gets targeted pretty quickly and killed, but in your backup, it'll be able to come in and immediately do its first special and get those additional buffs, and if they don't immediately take it out or hit it, it's going to do an AoE damage that does pretty decent. So this would be a great secondary. And then for your third slot, you got a lot of options, but you do have Wedge at Gear 12. And his ship does do a lot of damage, and by now, most of the ships will have target lock. If you're, in fact, leaning in on pulling a last recruit, this would be the ship that, in your lineup, I would have coming in. So with Slave 1, Millennium Falcon, and Wedge coming out from the back, and then again, your main lineup being the Chimera, TIE Advance, TIE Reaper, the Imperial TIE Fighter, First Order TIE Fighter, and Biggs. And I think with that, with developing your characters, as you develop those pilots, you're going to notice, just like regular Arena, you get faster and faster and faster. With this Arena, you're going to get better and better and better. And the thing that's really, 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 really cool about Ships Arena, a lot of people don't take into account, is regular Arena, you have to farm for mods to get a bunch of really amazing mods, and they specifically have to have speed secondaries. With Ships Arena, you don't have to have any speed secondaries on these characters. All you need is 5 dot mods maxed out. They could be crappy mods. Even your 5 dot mods that suck, that you have, that you've already invested money into, credits into, that you're going to be like, well, what do I do with these now? I've spent credits on. Put them on these guys. It will max out these guys' abilities because it doesn't matter the stats. It just matters that the mods are 5 dot. And so that's how I would suggest to do this. So this actually, in fact, is the easier arena to earn crystals in versus the other arena. All you have to do is develop the characters, but you don't have to worry about speed secondaries, whereas the other arena, you have to have those speed secondaries. I hope this helps with Arena and with Ships Arena. As far as Zetas, yes, definitely you want to do It Binds All Things, because you haven't. And then, of course, Veers for your Imperial Troopers. You're going to want to work eventually on, obviously, Imperial Troopers, and you're going to want to continue to, you know, gear up BB-8 and things like that. After all of this is said and done, and boy, this is a lot to focus on, you need to focus on one team or one sect of individuals. So, like, if you're focused on your pilots, focus just on your pilots. If you're focused on a particular faction like First Order, then just focus on First Order. Focus on a faction or a group of individuals for a period of time until you feel like their development is sufficient, and then move on. Don't add 2, 3, 4, 5 factions, because what happens is you get too many targets and then you just miss the mark on them all. To stay on target, you have to be focused, and I suggest 6 characters maximum in your favorites. If you're having struggles with focusing, if you can focus with more than 12 maximum in your favorites, but otherwise I would do 6 for now. Because of Arena, I would just focus on mod farming and gearing up your ship's pilots. As always, Revanator, thanks for letting me do this. If anybody has any questions or comments, leave them in the bottom. Keep your gaming on. Warrior out.